His presence is something so unique. He was radiating this knowledge, he was embodying this knowledge. I felt the light shining through him, and his energy and compassion was just incredible. You know, you would come from a long travel and you were completely exhausted, and you are 2 minutes in his presence and you feel completely transformed and blissful.
और कई ऐसी चीज़ें जो उस वक्त महर्षि जी कहते थे लगता कि ये पूरी नहीं हो पाती, जो कि आज पूरी भी हो रही हैं। उस वक्त महर्षि ने कहा कि भारत सरकार के या यूपी जो फैसले हैं वो अयोध्या में लेने चाहिए, क्योंकि अयोध्या को भारत का सेंटर बनाना चाहिए। और आज लगता कि योगी जी ने, हमने देखा कि अयोध्या के अंदर एक कैबिनेट की मीटिंग की और वहाँ जाके बैठ के डिसीजन लिए।
And of the Narmada, it is said that गंगा जी में स्नान, नर्मदा जी के दर्शन मात्र काफी है। आपको अनुभव, अनुभूति और दर्शन केवल और केवल योग की प्रैक्टिस से ही हो सकते हैं। योगा इज एक्सपीरियंशियल, एंड इट वाज थैंक्स टू महर्षि महेश योगी that he spread the technique which was so esoteric.
Namaskar. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Gurudev. I'm very honored to be here today, and I want to thank you all for coming. So this book, The Blessings of Maharishi, The Wonderful Stories of My Life, is a book that really can help us to understand Maharishi and his transforming work for the world much more. And I would first of all like to thank Maharishi for guiding me my whole life. And I would like to thank the publisher, Motilal, for publishing the book, accepting it. And Maharishi is a man of knowledge, and this knowledge is really capable of transforming the world. It has transformed the lives of millions of people in a better way. It can transform society as a whole. You see, I had the good fortune to be, it's now 50 years, I started 50 years ago to be with Maharishi. And I was working as a staff, simple staff in the hotels where he was living in France and Switzerland, starting washing dishes, and then I became, after a few months, a hotel director in a 5-star hotel where he stayed. And his presence is something so unique. He was radiating this knowledge, he was embodying this knowledge. I felt the light shining through him, and his energy and compassion was just incredible. You know, you would come from a long travel and you were completely exhausted, and you are 2 minutes in his presence and you feel completely transformed and blissful. And I experienced in that time many, many wonderful things all these years. And then later Maharishi sent me to many countries. I was teaching thousands of students in Africa, Transcendental Meditation. I was meeting with heads of states. He gave me very impossible tasks, and I felt miracles happening. I just did innocently what he asked me to do. It sounded impossible, but it all worked. And then in the evenings, when I was meeting my colleagues who had organized these lectures, I told them some of the stories. There was such a wonderful atmosphere, and the teacher said, and the colleagues, the meditators, Lothar, you should write a book about this. This is so precious. And I heard it many times, and then in one occasion, there was the Jyotishi, the Vedic astrologer, and I asked him, do you think I should write a book about it? He was looking at my horoscope, and he said, well, you can't write books, but you can tell stories. And if the book will be written like you tell the stories, 10,000s of people all over the world will get inspired to learn Transcendental Meditation. It will have a great impact, the book. So then Dr. Karin Pietz, she had written many books on Ayurveda. And so when she saw what I was writing, she said, let me do it. And then together, it took about 4 or 5 years to put all the stories together and then to write the book. And the book it's an autobiography, and it tells the stories how it was to work with Maharshi, what he all did, and the many miracles that I have experienced during that time. And so I became a teacher of Transcendental Meditation, and then I got to know Ayurveda, and I was lucky to be in the team. You see, Ayurveda was not known in the West at that time. We will hear from Dr. Triguna, his father, and he came. And I was organizing meetings with the health ministers who came to Geneva from the World Health Organization. And so we spread Ayurveda around the world. I was working on so many projects. And I know that Maharshi actually didn't want stories to be written about his guru, Swami Brahmananda Saraswati. He said we cannot do justice to the saints by telling just the stories. But still, when people read the anecdotes of saints, there is something nice enlivened. And that is also what I got confirmed. And I'll just tell you, the book is structured, all the knowledge that Maharshi has brought out, Transcendental Meditation, the science of creative intelligence, the enlivenment of Ayurveda, Jyotish, Sthapatya Veda, all the Vedic branches, they're all covered in the book, but in the terms of stories. And at the end of the book, there is an overview about all the accomplishments of Maharshi's movement and the activities going on now worldwide. And would you like to hear some stories?
Yeah, absolutely.
So one story was, I was in Cyprus. I spent many months there. And the health ministry was ready to introduce Maharshi Ayurveda. The government wanted us to build a Maharshi University in Cyprus to create peace there. And so Maharshi called us all of a sudden to come to Noida. I was attending 7 years the Maharshi 1000-headed Purusha program for single men. It's like living in a monastery and just focusing on the transcendence and studying Vedic knowledge and comparing the Vedic knowledge also with the latest discovery of modern science. So we spent almost the whole day in the transcendence and studying the Veda at the same time. And that was a wonderful experience. Maharshi was many times there. He was guiding us. So he called all of us, we were 700 young men, to Noida to meet him over Guru Purnima. And the Shankaracharya from the north was there. We had wonderful meetings. But I got sick. I got an ear infection, I had high fever, I got weak, and I decided I have to go home. And when I was just about to go to New Delhi to book a ticket, then one of his assistants came to me and said, Maharshi asked me to come to you. You should not leave before you have talked to him. So then I was waiting to see him, and it went until 2 o'clock in the night. He was meeting people. And then the secretary came and said, everybody should go and rest and come back tomorrow. And every day I got weaker. That went almost for a week. At the last day I could only lie down. I had no more energy. And I decided no matter what happens, tomorrow I will go back. So the secretary came again, as every evening, and said, everybody should go and rest and come back tomorrow. But Lota, you should stay. So I went up the Kucha, the stairs, and I was waiting in the meeting room next to Maharshi's room, and I was meditating for 20 minutes. And then when Maharshi switched on the intercom, my disease was gone. I was completely healthy. It was a miracle what happened. And then he told me many things that I should do in Cyprus. And that was very interesting, what he told me to do. He was really challenging the government, and it had a big impact. And Mr. Jain from publishing company, he asked me, Maharshi is considered in India a little bit controversial. Can you explain us why is that? And the reason for that is that Maharshi embodied the supreme truth. And he didn't dare to speak the truth, and it was sometimes challenging to the government, to the church, to the pharmaceutical industry. I was sued 4 times in Germany because I was promoting Maharshi Ayurveda. I'll come back to that a moment later. So this Cyprus was one very nice experience, and you can read in the book what he told me and what effect it had.
So I would now Sri Devendra Trigunaji to say a few words.
आदरणीय श्री मेजर जनरल बख्शी जी, डॉक्टर लोथर, अजय प्रकाश जी, लक्ष्मण और जितने भी हम सब लोग यहाँ आज इस किताब की लॉन्चिंग में हैं। किताब तो पहले छप चुकी है, लेकिन यहाँ रीप्रिंट हुई है, और मैं मोतीलाल बनारसी जैन साहब को भी धन्यवाद करूँगा कि वो अच्छे इश्यूज़ पे हमेशा किताब लाते रहते हैं। महर्षि जी से मेरा अपना पहले दर्शन जो हुए 77 में, जब वो दिल्ली अशोक होटल में थे, मुझे ध्यान है उस वक्त डॉक्टर करण सिंह जब हेल्थ मिनिस्टर थे तब वो भी बैठे हुए थे। और उसके बाद अगले साल महर्षि जी के यहाँ से टेलीफोन आया कि हमारे पिताजी उनसे महर्षि जी मिलना चाहते हैं और आयुर्वेद के लिए। नंदकिशोर जी उनके परम शिष्यों में से हैं, तो उनका फ़ोन आया था और हम थोड़े उसके बाद गए वहाँ पर, तब सदसिंह लैब में रुके हुए थे वो। तो महर्षि जी ने कहा कि त्रिगुना जी, हम ग्लोबली हमने मेडिटेशन को, टीएम को सेटअप किया, लेकिन हम योग के साथ, टीएम के साथ हम आयुर्वेद को पूरे विश्व में एक निरोगमय समाज स्थापित करना चाहते हैं, ताकि हम आयुर्वेद और योग को पूरी दुनिया में प्रमोट करें। तो हमारे पिताजी ने कहा कि आयुर्वेद की दृष्टि से, योग की दृष्टि से मैं हमेशा आपके साथ हूँ, जितना मैं सहयोग कर पाऊँगा करूँगा। और तब मुझे याद है कि सब्जिंग डेवलपमेंट एरिया में जहाँ वो रुके हुए थे, शंकराचार्य जी को बुलाकर पारद की पूजा की गई, पारद शिवलिंग की, और तब इस प्रकार आयुर्वेद का प्रादुर्भाव हुआ। और फिर महर्षि जी जब रुकते थे यहाँ पर, महर्षि नगर बनाया नोएडा में, वहाँ पर महर्षि आयुर्वेद की स्थापना की गई, जिसको श्रीवास प्रकाश जी, आनंद जी, राम और लक्ष्मण देखते थे। जब आयुर्वेद को पूरे विश्व में ले जाना शुरू किया 78-79 में, मुझे याद है, तब अमेरिका में, यूरोप में आयुर्वेद के बारे में बहुत कम लोग जानते थे। लेकिन महर्षि जी का हमेशा ये रहा कि किसी भी फील्ड में, चाहे वो आयुर्वेद हो, योग हो, कृषि हो, स्थापत्य वेद हो, ज्योतिष हो, उसके जो अच्छे विद्वान होते थे, उनका हर एक उसकी पद्धति की वो बहुत इज्जत करते थे, बहुत सम्मान देते थे और उनको बड़े अच्छे तरीके रखते थे। तो तब उन्होंने कहा कि आप पूरे विश्व में आयुर्वेद के लिए जाएं। तो हमें याद है कि अमेरिका में, यूरोप में साल में 2 दफ़ा, 3 दफ़ा, 4 दफ़ा पूरे वहाँ पर जाते थे। महर्षि MIU की यूनिवर्सिटी की स्थापना हुई फेयरफील्ड आयोवा में, जो आज दुनिया की एक बहुत बड़ी यूनिवर्सिटी, जहाँ की 40-50 देशों के स्टूडेंट्स वहाँ पढ़ते हैं। उस वक्त जब हम जाते थे तो अमेरिका में आयुर्वेद को बहुत कम लोग जानते थे, लेकिन कोई भी ऐसी यूनिवर्सिटी नहीं रही जिसमें कि जाके वहाँ लेक्चर नहीं दिए, चाहे ईथर डोम था इसमें बॉस्टन में, या जितनी भी स्टैनफोर्ड यूनिवर्सिटी थी, यूनिवर्सिटी से पिताजी के साथ जाए। डॉक्टर दीपक चोपड़ा जो अमेरिका में उस वक्त बॉस्टन में रहते थे, वो भी उसी की एक देन थी, उनको साथ में लाए और वो सब जगह पहले ट्रांसलेट करते थे जो कुछ पिताजी बोलते थे। तो इसलिए इस प्रकार एक आयुर्वेद की जर्नी बहुत शुरू हुई, और आयुर्वेद को पूरे विश्व में अगर ले जाने के, योग को तो लेके गए, लेकिन योग आयुर्वेद को भी अगर पूरे विश्व में लेके गए तो महर्षि जी का विशेष उनका आशीर्वाद, ताकि किस प्रकार को स्थापित किया। और आज हम देखते हैं महर्षि जी उस वक्त कहते थे किस प्रकार सत्य हो रहा है। इस प्रकार योग को हमारे प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने UN में उसको मान्यता दिलवाई। इसी प्रकार ये उन्होंने कई दफ़ा कहा है, मन की बात में वैसे भी कहा है कि अब ये सदी होगी आयुर्वेद की होगी, और आयुर्वेद उसी प्रकार WHO में, UN में इसको मान्यता मिलेगी। और आज WHO का जो इंटरनेशनल सेंटर है वो जामनगर में स्थापित हुआ है, UN का सेंटर, तो ये भी बहुत बड़ी बात है। महर्षि जी से बहुत पर्सनल हमें देखने का मौका मिला, तकरीबन 30 साल से ज़्यादा। प्रत्येक उनके जन्मदिन पे जनवरी में 12 जनवरी को, और गुरु पूर्णिमा पे प्रत्येक वर्ष, अगर वो चाहे दिल्ली में थे, स्विट्ज़रलैंड में थे, या अमेरिका में थे, या हॉलैंड में बहुत लंबे समय तक रहे, वहाँ प्रत्येक वर्ष जाते थे। और कई ऐसी चीज़ें जो उस वक्त महर्षि जी कहते थे लगता कि ये पूरी नहीं हो पाती, जो कि आज पूरी भी हो रही हैं। उस वक्त महर्षि ने कहा कि भारत सरकार के या इनके जो फैसले हैं वो अयोध्या में लेने चाहिए, क्योंकि अयोध्या को भारत का सेंटर बनाना चाहिए। और आज लगता कि योगी जी ने, हमने देखा कि अयोध्या के अंदर एक कैबिनेट की मीटिंग की और वहाँ जाके बैठ के डिसीजन लिए। तो ये इस बहुत सारी चीज़ें देखते हैं। और महर्षि ने किस प्रकार योग को, आयुर्वेद को, भारतीय संस्कृति को, ज्योतिष को, कर्मकांड को किस प्रकार पूरी दुनिया में लेके गए। मेरा तो अपना ये भी मानना था कि जितना काम महर्षि जी ने आयुर्वेद, भारतीय संस्कृति और योग के लिए किया, शायद इसमें किसी ने भी नहीं किया। विवेकानंद जी शुरू में गए थे, एक दफ़ा गए, लेकिन महर्षि जी ने तो पूरे वहाँ के लोगों को, आज मिलियंस एंड मिलियंस जो लोग हैं वहाँ के, अमेरिका के, यूरोप के, वहाँ पे ध्यान भी कर रहे हैं, टी टोटलर हुए, वेजिटेरियन हुए, हालांकि उन्होंने कभी फोर्स नहीं किया। और कई जगह कई दफ़ा 10-10 हज़ार लोग बैठ के ध्यान, कलेक्टिव ध्यान करते थे। अभी भी थोड़े दिन पहले हैदराबाद के अंदर एक बहुत बड़ा प्रोग्राम हुआ था जिसमें कि 15 दिन लगातार 10,000 लोगों ने ध्यान किया। पूरे विश्व से लोग वहाँ आए हुए थे। महर्षि जी ने अपने सारे सेंटर्स, तकरीबन 140 देशों में महर्षि जी के सेंटर हैं, जो आज ट्रांसेंडेंटल मेडिटेशन, योग, आयुर्वेद, भारतीय संस्कृति को पूरा बढ़ावा दे रहे हैं। तो महर्षि जी को तो हम जितना उन्होंने भारत को, पूरे विश्व को दिया है, उतना शायद ही एक आदमी ने, किसी ने पूरे देश को, पूरे विश्व को दिया हो। तो महर्षि जी को हम प्रतिदिन अपने उसमें, क्योंकि उन्होंने जो ज्ञान दिया है ना, उस ज्ञान को ही आगे लेके चल रहे हैं। चाहे वो योग की बात है, चाहे टीएम की बात है, मेडिटेशन की बात है, उसमें उन्होंने बहुत उनका मेरा पर्सनली उनसे तकरीबन जब हम जाते थे हॉलैंड में या महर्षि नगर में होते थे, उनके साथ बैठने का बहुत सानिध्य मिला। योग के बारे में कई दफ़ा हमने देखा कि सुबह अगर 11-12 बजे महर्षि जी बैठते थे टॉक्स के ऊपर और एक ही आसन में, और हम लोग दोपहर को जा रहे हैं, शाम को जा रहे हैं, रात को खाना खा के आ रहे हैं, महर्षि जी सुबह 3 बजे तक वहाँ बैठे हुए, 15-16 घंटे लगातार बगैर उठे। तो उनकी साधना का भी हमने देखा, और सिद्धियाँ तो महर्षि जी में थी। चाहे वो हमने महालक्ष्मी की सिद्धि हो या कोई भी सिद्धि हो, सिद्धियाँ महर्षि जी के पास। जो भी आदमी परफेक्ट होगा उसको सिद्धि भी कह सकते हैं, ये भी हमने देखा। और महर्षि जी ने हमको जो कुछ दिया है वो तो पूरा देश भी उनका ऋण नहीं उतार सकता, ऐसा मेरा अपना मानना है। भारत सरकार ने भी उनके ऊपर, हमारे मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ आयुष ने उनके ऊपर एक कैलेंडर भी जारी किया था। हमारे प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी जी ने उनके ऊपर एक डाक टिकट भी जारी की। हालांकि ये कोई बहुत बड़ी बात नहीं है महर्षि जी के लिए, लेकिन एक ऐसा भावना है कि हमको जो महर्षि जी ने हमको दिया पूरे देश के लिए, पूरे विश्व में, तो ये बहुत बड़ी बात है। मैं, काश जी बैठे हैं, ये तो महर्षि जी के साथ हर चीज़ का हमने उनको देखा, हमने देखा किस प्रकार 40-50 वर्ष इन्होंने महर्षि जी के साथ रहे और किस प्रकार इस मूवमेंट को किस प्रकार आगे ले गए। ये महर्षि जी का आशीर्वाद था। मैं इन शब्दों के साथ खास करके जैन साहब का जिन्होंने किताब छापी है उनका भी धन्यवाद करता हूँ कि उन्होंने ऐसी किताबें जो लिखते रहते हैं। बहुत, इनका तो आयुर्वेद के लिए भी बहुत किताबें छापते हैं, योग के लिए भी, ध्यान के लिए भी, तो मैं उनका भी धन्यवाद करता हूँ। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
I would request Major General G.D. Bakshi ji to please take the mic.
First of all, I'm so happy that I'm here despite all the obstacles on the way. I wanted to be here. My parents, my father and my mother, Dr. S.P. Bakshi and Shrimati Kshama Bakshi, they were trained teachers of transcendental meditation. So I was desperate to be here and I'm glad I could make it finally. But what I want to tell you is I did my schooling in Jabalpur, St. Aloysius Jabalpur School, and that is on the banks of the holy Narmada. It's a unique city. अपने आप में अजूबा है ये शहर, महर्षि जबाल के नाम से है। नर्मदा नदी वहाँ बहती है। The sacred Narmada flows there. And of the Narmada, it is said that गंगा जी में स्नान, नर्मदा जी के दर्शन मात्र काफी है. You know, it is a belief in Indian circles that water absorbs the ojas, the tapas of any rishi. And on the banks of the Narmada, we've had some great rishis who have, done a lot of good to mankind. I would start with the Adi Shankaracharya himself. His ashram was on the banks of the Narmada, and that river is charged with the ojas of these rishis. Keeping alive this tradition, we had Maharshi Mahesh Yogi ji, who belongs to Jabalpur. I'm very, very proud to say that he is from Jabalpur and he's keeping up that tradition alive. I want to give you a very interesting insight. Surprising it would be for a lot of our people. in the late 1960s and in the 1970s, the CIA got intelligence that the KGB, the Soviet intelligence agency, was working on acquiring psychic warfare skills. You know, psychic powers to be deployed for espionage, for mind control, and for a whole lot of other things. So the Americans got really worried at that stage, and we had an army of, aspirants coming to various ashrams in India. One of the first people they found that they could really understand, and with the help of which they could really, experiment onto yoga, experiment onto meditation, was Maharishi Ji, because he had standardized the technique of meditation so that it would lend itself to scientific experimentation and analysis. And a whole host of very brilliant scientists from the West, the top level scientists in terms of psychology, in terms of biophysics, etc. I mean, they carried out extensive experiments on transcendental meditating subjects, and as has already been brought out, the physiological, the psychological benefits of transcendental meditation were no longer a matter of faith, no longer a matter of, I believe in a particular guru, therefore this must be true. Empirical fact, it works. You see, if an agency, hard-nosed agency like the CIA, is prepared to spend taxpayer dollars, and this program continued almost for 3 decades. Some of the top universities in the United States, in Europe, were all involved, and the first person to put it on a scientific basis, on an experimental, empirical basis, was Maharishi Mahesh Yogi Ji. So I'd like to bow to him. I'd like to bow to my parents, who were very closely associated with him. And this tradition continues. We have had revivalists in the Hindu religion. Time after time, the Gita says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuthanam. I mean, whenever there is dharma, decline in dharma, we have great beings who come, avtaric consciousnesses that arise in our midst to renew, to rejuvenate, and to restart what we have lost, possibly in the aeons. Hindu religion is experiential spiritualism. It is based on anubhav, anubhuti, darshan. I don't have to just mug up some set of scriptures, spew them out, and I have achieved. I have not. I might say aham brahmasmi, but is that your anubhav? Is that your experience? No. And for that you have to do Nidhyadhasan, you have to meditate till that experience, till what is said in the Shastras is an actual realization for you. And that gives you a whole lot of these psychic energies, psychic powers, and it is to Maharishi Mahesh Yogi Ji's credit that he had that scientific temper to see that not only meditation, dharana, dhyan, samadhi, is explained to the people in a very simple, easy to follow format, a standardization of format. Only if a format is standardized can you subject the meditator to experiments, repeatable experiments, and expect the same results. You have to start with the standardization of format. That is what he did beautifully. And those of you who are meditators would remember, I think his most seminal contribution was that seminal diagram, the bubble diagram. Seminal contribution on what exactly is meditation. And I remember he was explaining it once, and he said, we all swim. So he was trying to explain the difference between contemplation, concentration, and meditation, right? And he said, contemplation is, I go to the deep end of the pool and I start swimming in small circles on that end. or I come to the shallow end and I start swimming in that narrow circle. That is contemplation. Concentration is when the swimmer, when you say, when they play water polo, he starts swimming in the same spot, paddling in the same spot is concentration. Contemplation, concentration, but when he dives into the pool and he touches the bottom of the pool, that is meditation. And how do you dive into the pool? How does a pearl diver dive? He takes a heavy stone. He ties a stone, to himself, and he goes to the bottom to look for the pearls, right? Then he releases that and possibly comes up. The stone, the pearl diver stone that we use, which Maharishi gave us, was the mantra. The acoustic, scientifically tested sound with repeatable results. In your own laboratory of your own consciousness, you carry out those experimental verifications of the great truths for yourself. You become those truths. You realize those truths. All here who have been in contact with our great Maharishi Mahesh Yogi Ji know his tremendous energies, his scientific temper that led him not only to explore meditation, but also, as has been brought out very ably in his book, I've had the chance to glance through it, in Ayurveda. Rejuvenation of the ancient Indian sciences, not just of meditation, concentration, dharana, dhyan, samadhi, this aspect, but also of Ayurveda and of the Siddhis. I've personally seen meditators take those hops and jumps and we were left amazed. Anti-gravity. So, these were not just things to be taken on faith, article of faith, either you believe or you rot in the fires of hell. No, you don't. Nobody rots in the fire of hell. Hell and heaven is here, is within us. And it was the great Maharishi Mahesh Yogi who started this revival, rejuvenation. Dharma is that which is constant. But in each age, that dharma has to be expressed in the Yuga Dharma. The language of that age, उस युग की भाषा में आपको बोलना पड़ेगा, नहीं तो लोग समझ नहीं पाएंगे, धर्म से वो जुदा हो जाएंगे. और इसके ये युग, कलयुग जो है हमारा, ये साइंस का युग है साहब. अनलेस आप साइंस की भाषा में बातचीत नहीं करते, आपको कोई ज़्यादा विश्वास नहीं करेगा. बिकॉज आजकल टोटके जादू टोने का समय चला गया. आज लोग हार्ड साइंस पे जाना चाहते हैं. और इसलिए दिस इज हिज सेमिनल कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन. महेश योगी जी की सेमिनल कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन है टू गिव, टू ब्रिंग योगा एंड साइंस टुगेदर, meditation and science together. Today, the cutting edge of physics is exactly what Maharishi Ji was saying. Quantum physics tells you that there can be no empirical observation without an observer in here. There are those quantum waves of possibility, probability, out of which when I look, I select, I cause a quantum collapse of all the other waves, and the one that I have seen actualizes. Now comes the question, if you and I are creating the reality that we see, how is it that you, me, him, we all see the same reality? It is because we see from a deeper level of ourselves, which some people call the quantum self, which we in the Indian philosophy call the Atman. And the greatest leap of Indian philosophy is that Atman and the Paramatman and the Brahman are identical. चार महावाक्य जिनको महर्षि जी भी याद दिलाया करते थे हमें. प्रज्ञानम ब्रह्म, consciousness is Brahma. Second, Ayam Atma Brahma. This Atman of mine, this spirit of mine, this soul of mine is Brahman. Then when you are in deep meditation, Nirgun Samadhi, then Aham Brahmasmi. And when you come out of meditation, Tat Tvam Asi. That you are. These are the 4 Mahavakyas. These were brought again, into common parlance by the great Adi Shankaracharya from the banks of the Narmada. And from the banks of that very same sacred river Narmada, we had Maharishi Mahesh Yogi ji from Jabalpur. I'm very proud to claim him as a citizen of Jabalpur. And Jabalpur has produced many, many remarkable personalities. We had Osho Rajneesh around that same time. Of course, वो थोड़े sidetrack हो गए थे in some other things. But we had Dr. Chopra incidentally studied in St. Aloysius Jabalpur, my school. And yes. So we've had quite a lot of luminaries in recent times from this sacred river's banks. Because I do believe that river, that water, the molecules of water store memory. They record those deep impressions of meditation, which is the gift that we got from Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. Thank you very much once again, and my kudos to the author for bringing out a lovely story of his contacts with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, that mighty, mighty personality from Jabalpur.
That was absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with all of us. Now I would like to invite Shri Ajay Prakash Srivastavaji, President, Maharishi Institute of Creative Intelligence and Chancellor, Maharishi University of Information Technology.
What Dr. Bakshi said was about scientific discovery of on transcendental meditation. Maharishi's main idea of teaching transcendental meditation earlier was he made it very simple, very natural, and all over the world when he started teaching. Since he made it very simple, everybody wanted to learn it because there is no difficult task to follow. His idea was meditation was you don't change your lifestyle. You only take out 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening and practice the transcendental meditation, which will be taught to you by a certified teacher of TM. Certified means certified by Maharshi. It is a 6 months course to become a teacher of transcendental meditation. So when he started teaching to people, because it's being so simple, it's so natural, a lot of people started learning. They started getting benefits. One of the story Maharshi used to tell us when he was in Los Angeles, he taught some people meditation, and somebody who was quite a rich person, a lot of money and all that, he had problem of sleeping because of a lot of stress and all that. So he got a very good sleep after learning TM. And somebody, based on his story, somebody published an article in the newspaper next day that there is a person from Himalayas, he can make you sleep. And Maharshi said, I was very upset because, see, very big knowledge from our country based on our Vedic scripture, what Lord Krishna told in Gita, Yugastha Kuru Karmani, that is the knowledge. You get established in yoga and do your karma. And that is the knowledge, and they are comparing it with sleeping pill. So Maharshi said, I felt very, very upset, and I thought maybe I should go back to Himalayas and not waste my time with these people who don't even understand what is the importance of knowledge. And then he said, then I realized that if you have to teach to these people who are ignorant about the knowledge of India, knowledge of Vedic tradition, in those days there is not so much technology that people will not know so much about the Indian knowledge about the Vedic science and all that. So Maharshi said, then I decided, no, let's teach them whatever way they can get benefit. And when people started getting benefit, so in about 1970, 71 in that area, some scientist came to him. He said, Maharshi, it's a very good thing what you teach, it helps people, but we want to understand how it does it, why it does it, what is the basis, what is the philosophy behind, what is the theory behind it. And that's why all the experiments, scientific experiments started doing on TM. They measured brain wave, and they found it is very coherent during meditation. The sleep is better, the skin resistance and oxygen consumption. So many parameters were measured to find out that transcendental meditation actually gives very deep rest during the 20-minute practice. And the beauty of it was that you can practice transcendental meditation in a very simple manner without changing your lifestyle. That is the beauty of it. and so that's why it became popular. And when I think first scientist was Dr. Keith Wallace, who measured the brainwave coherence at that time. He was a neurologist, and that when it started coming out that actually you can see the result of meditation in a physical scientific form, because this is, as Bakshiji said, it's a society where people believe in the science. So when it came out, a lot of people said there are more researches needs to be done. I think more than 600 researches have been done on the practice of transcendental meditation, and that's why people started learning. I always say the beauty of transcendental meditation is so simple. That's why people learn it. That's why people enjoy it, because there is no difficulty. You don't have to follow anything. The experience that you gain from transcendental becomes, you gain more and more higher experiences. You experience different level of consciousness. There are 7 states of consciousness that people experience. 3 that we experience every day: sleeping, dreaming, and waking up. And then there is 4th state, 5th state, 6th, 7th, and as Bakshiji said, last stage is Aham Brahmasmi, when you connect with the Atma and Paramatma. That is the last stage. All that is from our Vedic literature. Is nothing new about it. It's not that Maharshiji invented anything new. Only because of the blessings of his Guru. His Guru said, you have to teach this knowledge all over the world. When in 1953 or 54, his Guru Brahmanand Saraswati Ji, when he took his Samadhi, at that time he gave instruction to go and teach all over the world how to and bring this knowledge all over the world. With the blessings of his Guru, Maharshiji started, and the reason it spread because of his simplicity. A lot of people have a lot of experience. Lotharji has very good experience with working with Maharshiji. I also remember him because I was also very closely associated with Maharshiji for many years and working with him, and wherever he was going. And as Lotharji explained that he was working with Maharshi when he was Maharshi used to teach courses in big courses in hotels. They will, all the people will come stay in the hotel, because hotels have rooms to stay, and big conference halls where Maharshi would give lectures, and there were people who were organizing and all that. Lot of people were connected with that. The experience that Lotharji has all this time is very precious. We all of us have a lot of experience. He narrated a story. There are so many numerous story. People have different experience, different kinds of, I would not call it miracle, but different kind of good experience with Maharshiji. And then in about, as Devenji said, in about, it was in 79 or something like that. At that time, the Ayurveda came, Maharshi Ayurveda, and Maharshiji said, this is a knowledge of our country, our tradition, which can bring disease-free society. So Maharshiji gave a slogan that Maharshi Ayurveda, we called it Maharshi Ayurveda because we wanted to connect it with Maharshi. So we ourselves called it Maharshi Ayurveda. So we created a slogan, Maharshi Ayurveda for disease-free society. Maharshi's idea was that the Ayurveda is such that it can create a disease-free society. Lotharji took that knowledge, that Ayurveda thing very seriously, and started Ayurveda centers many places in Germany. He did some in some US also, and he has a lot of good experience. A lot of people benefited from it, because the one thing Ayurveda does is actually prevents you from falling sick, and in case you get sick despite prevention, then there is a cure also. All his all the experience that he had with Maharshiji in his book, and very nicely written. The book is very nicely and narrated his story very nicely. I think all of you who read the book will enjoy it. And Maharshi being a great saint, there's so many things to say about Maharshi, so much to talk about Maharshi. It can take hours together to talk about his knowledge and the experience. All of us have different kinds of experience with Maharshiji. So there is a lot of to talk about. I don't know how much time I have to talk about it. And I think all of you will benefit from the knowledge that Maharshi gave. If you have not yet practiced, have not yet learned transcendental meditation, I think you should learn it. Practice it yourself. There is a saying in English, taste of pudding is in eating. So when you taste it, when you learn the TM, then you would know what is the benefit of it. What Bakshiji was talking about, narrating the Atma to Paramatma, that experience you will gain only when you practice it. Not by my telling me that it's a good thing, my telling me this will bring you this now. you must practice it yourself. We have centers in Delhi, in Noida, and all that. Gurgaon also. People can learn there, practice it, and then benefit from it. Lot of people benefited from it. Maharshi ji did a lot of research when this was done. He did one research in, I think it was 1974 or 73, when it found out, it was learned by that when in a city 1% people practice transcendental meditation, that city becomes more positive, the crime rate reduces, positivity increases. And that time it was documented in 700 cities around the world, with 700 cities where people were practicing, 1% people practicing TM, and 700 cities which were they call controlled cities. We are not practicing TM. And the result was that the positivity increased, the crime rate came down, and all that. So then Maharshi said, what if they sit together and practice transcendental? What they are right now practicing in their homes, what if they come together and practice transcendental meditation? So he started that they should practice together, find some hall or big place that all of the people should come and practice together. The results were multifold. Lot of positive parameters. Then our scientists created they call it Maharshi effect. The index of, I think, 20 or 18 parameters. These are the parameters to be checked when people practice transcendental meditation together. And then Maharshi conducted then of course the advanced technology of transcendental meditation came from our scriptures. We call it Siddhis. They started practicing Siddhis and all that. 83 there was a course where people together meditated for long time, and they saw the effect on various aspects in the US economy, US crime rate, and many hospital admission, so many things. And then Maharshi repeated that experiment many times when people got together and practiced meditation and Siddhis together. And then he declared a formula. This is very interesting because he declared a formula how to create world peace. Everybody talks about world peace. Everybody wants world peace. Our military people also want world peace. Nobody actually wants to fight, go and kill anybody. They have to do it because they have to protect their territory. But everybody talks about world peace. You can see a lot of conferences happening on world peace. They all talk world peace is very good. We should achieve world peace. They will clap hands. They will join hands. They will do all kinds of things. But nobody has a formula how to create world peace, except what Maharshi ji gave to the world. Meditation and Siddhis practicing together, a group of, he gave a number, group of 9,000, at that time it was 9,000 now because the population is more. He created a formula, square root of 1% of the population of the world. It's about 10,000 people practicing meditation, Siddhis together will bring world peace and will bring world peace. And he showed that by experimenting in US, I think 2-3 places in the world also, that this is possible, this is achievable, and that is the only clear formula for creating world peace. All the countries are spending millions and millions, billions of dollars in buying arms and ammunition and paying money to the people to protect their country, to the military army, to spending money on that. If any country comes together, say, okay, I will spend 10,000, I will create a group of 10,000 people who practice transcendental meditation and Siddhis together, and we will create world peace. You will have world peace. That is the formula. And that formula is not that the Maharshi made it. It comes from our scriptures where we talk about how to create a coherent atmosphere, how to create a coherence in the society. And that formula is from there. So whatever the knowledge of Maharshi, that the experience that Lutherji has with Maharshi is written in his book, but we should all know that this is not something simple. It's simple in the way meditation is simple, but it has far-reaching effect, and it can actually create world peace if you really want. If any government wants it, if they are serious about world peace, they must follow. Because there is no other way to create world peace except buying more arms and more ammunition and all that. But that is not the way to create world peace.
This is actually described in the book, the quantum physics, how the formula comes about. And there are 35 studies, peer-reviewed studies that have been published in prestigious journals like the UN Conflict Resolution Journal, very serious studies, and world peace can be created in no time. And I must say, I'm really worried about Europe, because of the Ukraine war. And I have seen some of your YouTubes about that. And here is a scientifically proven solution. And it comes from your culture. I have gone very deeply in the Ayurvedic scriptures. And Charaka, one of the great founders, Maharishi Charaka, describes that the loss of dharma is leading to deterioration of the food and the consciousness, and people start to fight. And the solution for that is also in Charaka, and that is yoga. Transcendental meditation is nothing but yoga. Yoga means to unify. And transcendental meditation gives the experience of the Atma in a very easy way. And it's not something strange. The people who practice the yogic techniques like yogic flying from the TM City program, what they actually experience is bliss. Bliss in the mind and bliss in the body. And from this level of creation, we know from quantum physics, everything is connected within itself. Everything in the entire universe. It's a field of infinite correlation. So the technology is there. And I believe that India is the only country in the world that is awakened enough to introduce these technologies in the world to create peace.
So I would also like to share an excerpt of the book. This preface of the book is written by Dr. David Ohm Johnson, who's one of the leading scientists. And so let me start by quoting. This is a fantastic book. Out of 5 stars, I would give it 10. It is so good that Rhonda and I have made reading it our evening entertainment over videos and movies. If you are interested in what it would be like to be around and work with the greatest spiritual master of our time, and perhaps of all time, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, then this is a book for you. Written in a lively style from beginning to end, it takes you on a ride of bubbling bliss, from Lothar's childhood days of highly creative pranks that he and his buddies played on their teachers, to the sublime atmosphere of taking silence with Maharishi. Lothar tells how he was guided into his life around Maharishi by a series of fortunate spiritual experiences to become one of Maharishi's most trusted disciples and staff with enormous responsibilities. Through Lothar's eyes, we see Maharishi ever working for the good of the world, 20 plus hours a day, ever inventive and original, to create world peace and just an equitable world free from poverty and want. We have an insider's view as Maharishi trains and enlightens his teachers, creates coherent creating groups, works to solve countries' economic programs, revives the technologies of consciousness of the ancient Vedic tradition for effectively addressing chronic diseases, creating clinics around the world, meets with great scientists, world leaders, and intellectuals to restructure human understanding on what the purpose of life is and the enormous possibilities it offers, and much more. Future generations will want to know who was this man who changed the destiny of human history? How did he do it? And what was he like? Lothar's book will be one of their source books.
My question is addressed to Bakshi I just want to know how can our ancient wisdom and meditation help in resolving the crisis in Ukraine and Hamas nowadays?
I think one very insightful remark that the author made was, the field of connectivity. Somewhere deep down, we are all deeply connected. When you start meditating, synchronous events start happening all around you. As he also describes in his book, there is synchronity. You are plugged into the larger forces of nature. So the theory behind it is this, that when we meditate, you are generating those alpha rhythm of the EEG, measurable in a laboratory. And this is a special, kind of an alpha is for when you are a wakeful state, restful awareness. But it has also got squiggles of beta, and therefore it is restful awareness which gives you about 15 minutes of meditation would give you the kind of rest that 6 hours of sleep would give you. That was, empirically tested. It gets down your galvanic screen response, which is your response to stress. When suddenly you are sitting quiet and they let off a loud explosion, how much time do you take to come back to autonomic stability? Oxygen consumption rates, etc. All these are recorded. Your psychomotor capabilities increase, your creativity increase. The more you are rested within, the less violent, the less aggressive you are likely to be. Calm. And even a warrior is supposed to be calm. The ideal warrior is not the Karna type of warrior, short-tempered. The ideal warrior is Arjun. Calm, quiet, you see, and being able to work from a level of autonomic stability. So, the Maharishi effect that he was talking of was that if 1% of a city turns into meditators, morning and evening they plug in to the universal sources of silence, you quieten the general field around, the morphogenetic field as it is called. We are all part of that morphogenetic field. We are all plugged into that field. And when that field calms down, there will be less war, there will be less conflict, less anger, less tension, starting from your household, You find that if people start meditating, one, they will be quiet. Half the problems start when we are very vocal and we are very, temperamental and discussing in high decibels. The first thing you learn to be is quiet, deep quiet, and that quiet spreads. That is why ours is the civilization of the forest. Vanaspatayah Shanti. When you go to that forest, you'll feel a deep sense of peace from the rooted vegetation of the plants. The trees will give you tranquility. Those ashrams, you will find very little of, incoherence or squabbling or fighting or infighting, etc. When we have left these very quiet spaces, then we get more entropic. With the traffic horns blaring and the noise and this thing, that unsettles the stability, autonomic stability of your mind. That is what leads to anger. Anger management becomes a problem, and that leads to conflicts. So when people start meditating in general, 1% starts meditating, they have measured statistically the effects on the larger body politic. Thank you.
One last question that we've received from Lotharji. So, why was Maharishiji taken in a controversial light, and how have you reflected that in your book?
Yeah, I had to go through some tough experiences. And the situation is that Maharshi told the truth. And his whole goal was to raise the consciousness of the individual and also of society. And you see, there are powers in the world. There are powers in the world who are making a lot of money because the people are sick. There are powers in the world that make a lot of money by producing weapons. And there is also the church, which has been trying to manipulate the people. And I have seen many Christians, many Muslims becoming better in their religion. But there was still a conflict, because in Christianity, they think that people have to suffer. And Maharshi said TM is good for everybody, but people who want to continue to suffer, they should not meditate. And when people meditate and they develop their alertness, their consciousness, they become more self-sufficient. You cannot manipulate them so easily. And there was a time when many people left the church in Germany for different reasons. You may have heard the latest scandals that are going on there. And then they were thinking, why do people leave the church? And they were thinking it comes from the spiritual knowledge come from the East. And then they have decided a marketing strategy to harm all the spiritual movements by putting them into the corner of a sect or a cult. And government leaders who are connected to the church, they have been promoting this idea. That is one reason. Maharishi has openly, in television interviews, he was saying that NATO and Bush creating all these wars everywhere, that this is a crime and they should stop doing that. We have a peace technology. And Maharishi was really them on TV, and they have sent their CIAs and whatnot to harm our movement. And I can tell you inside stories you wouldn't believe what I have experienced. Just to give you one example, the pharmaceutical industries, they make a lot of money and they're happy when the people are sick. That is our healthcare system today. And I was sued. There is an association of all the pharmaceutical companies in Germany, and they have sued me, and the court came. I had all the brochures were confiscated at the time, and they took me to court. And they said you were not allowed to promote benefits of Ayurveda outside the medical community, only medical doctors. I didn't know that. You see, we had in my clinic many celebrities. I organized many press conferences. We had 1,500 journalists in my clinic. It became very popular because of this clinic and other Maharishi Ayurveda clinics in Germany. And then when we had some big celebrities and everybody was writing that people are losing their chronic diseases, the pharmaceutical industry was pouncing on me, and I was confronted with a court case. And now I will tell you the last story, how it ended. So the evening before I had to go to the court, I remembered one incident, and that happened 7 years before, even some years before the clinic started. Maharishi had a meeting with all the Ayurveda doctors, few hundred that he had trained in Europe. And when he was leaving the meeting to go on his room, we were all standing on the side saying Jai Gurudev. And when he was seeing me, he stood still. He looked at me and he said, Lothar, whenever there will come a time that you will face legal difficulties to promote Ayurveda freely, you should contact me personally and directly, because the law is very intelligent and it will require my intelligence to deal with that. So that thought came to me before going to bed. Next morning I had to go to the court. So I wrote down, we didn't have emails at that time, with my hand, and I sent a fax to Brahmachari Nankishore, who stayed next to Maharishi's room. And I said this was the story, this is what Maharishi told, and this is what happened now. And then Nankishore called me back 20 minutes later. He said he talked to Maharishi and he said, you don't need to worry. Even if you will be restricted a little bit, it will not make a difference, but nothing will happen to you. So next morning I went to court with my wife, and I was witnessing the previous court case. It was not yet over. Some doctor had done a similar thing, and the judge was really rough like a butcher. He was yelling, you have violated the law and you will be punished. You have to pay so much fine and all the court fees. Similar case. And then he was yelling when the court case, this was over, who is Mr. Pirz? I said, me. Who is the lady? My wife. We don't need her. You're responsible. What are all these books? I said, these are the scientific research papers and the ancient scriptures. What we are doing is very authentic. We don't need this, Mr. Pirz. You should know one thing. At court, you are like on high sea in the hands of God. Then he continued to yell, who is the lawyer of the pharmaceutical industry? So the guy stood up. He said, you are a bad organization. He is an innocent man. He's helping the people with oil massages and with herbs and with meditation and yoga, and you just want to sell your pills. Wow. You have no right to sue him, and you have lost the court case, and you have no right to appeal. My lawyer said, I have defended people like you 400 times. This never happened in my life. So this was just an incident which I would say is one sign of the blessings of Maharishi. So we had to go through a lot of difficulties, but as one colleague said today, Sattva will always triumph. At the end, we will triumph. And this knowledge is very much needed in the world. And I think and I hope that this book, The Blessings of Maharshi, will also change the perception of His Holiness Maharshi Mahesh Yogi in India. Because the Indians should know what this great man has done for the world. He really has transformed the world in a very wonderful way. And the people who read the books, they will get many insights what Maharshi really has done to the world. So from my side, I just want to say thank you also for your coming, and to Prakashji and for your wonderful moderation. And nice to meet you. All the best to you. Namaskar.
I would request Major General G.D. Bakshi for his concluding remarks, please.
It was wonderful to be here today and to get a lot of very, very beautiful memories of Maharishi Ji, my parents who were very close to him personally. And, once again, I would like to say that in the Hindu Dharma, by the way, the word Hindu is not part of any Indian language. The word Hindu has been given to us an appellation by the Persians and then later the Arabs, because they saw the Sindhu river. They can't pronounce the sa, so they pronounced it as ha. It is Sapta Sindhu became Hapta Hindu. And that's how we got our name. The true name of this religion, our religion, is Sanatan Dharma. It is eternal. And let me tell you, it is eternal, because once again, not anything on faith and belief, and because the good book says so, the Holy Pope says so. We don't have any Holy Popes. We don't have any one book which says it all. We have hundreds and hundreds of books, and no book ever goes out of print in Hinduism. It is like the Wikipedia, the multi-authors, and a lot of freedom. So as I was trying to say, that we have been carbon dated. The Indus Valley civilization, so-called, is the Saraswati Valley civilization. 80% of our settlements were not on the Indus, but on the Saraswati river tract. Not very far from here is Bhirana, Dholavira, Rakhigiri, and all these. They have been physically radiocarbon dated 9,500 years before present. Forget about what the history books told you, that we are 5,000 years old grudgingly. Because, we are supposed to be trading with Mesopotamia and Egypt. Now, as per empirical scientific evidence, we are 9,500 years old. And how have we continued? In that civilization, they have found little terracotta figurines in the postures of yoga, Hatha Yoga, in the postures of meditation. We found Shiva Lingas there. We found sacrificial altars and Yupa, that is the sacrificial post in the Veda. It was a Vedic civilization. 9,500 years easily makes it the oldest. We are eternal. And we are eternal also because of saints like Maharshi Mahesh Yogi, who keep coming in every age to renew the experiential basis of this religion. The Buddha said, "O monks, do not believe because I have said so. Do not believe because it is written in the holy books. Do not believe because the wise say so. Experience for yourself and then believe." The entire basis of Indic religion is experiential. And it has continued, it has been Sanatan, because we have every few centuries people like Maharishi Mahesh Yogi who taught the whole world how to meditate. I think nobody has done more to popularize the technique of meditation. The last 3 steps of the Ashtanga Yoga, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi. That is the essence. That is what renews the Sanatan Dharma. That is what makes it constant. That is what makes it eternal. And that is why you find in this age, I'm not talking now of the ancient rishis of yore, but in this age, starting from Ramakrishna Paramahans, Vivekananda, Shri Aurobindo, and then Maharshi Mahesh Yogi. I haven't seen any other, Indian with a greater media profile than Maharshi Mahesh Yogi across continents, across cultures. His visage, the Beatles followed him, and the entire counterculture in the United States, who were fed up of the Vietnam War, who were fed up of the drugs and everything, they took to him. The United States Army started transcendental meditation to get people off drugs. And as Maharishi ji used to joke, you don't have to give things up. Things give you up. I have been in the military 41 years in boots and uniform. I haven't smoked. I haven't drunk a peg of rum. So, which is saying a lot, because there used to be at least a culture of pressurizing. You don't drink, my God, it was that kind of a thing. But it is not because I made any effort. You do your meditation, you don't need it. I don't have to make any effort to give up smoking, to give up drinking, to give up this, that and the rest. It just goes. It just goes so naturally. The word he used was natural technique of meditation. सहज. ये सहज है साहब. कोई effort करने की ज़रूरत नहीं. Half the problem that we create for ourselves in meditation is we start exercising our will. Quell thoughts, quell thoughts, quell thoughts. In the Buddhist technique of meditation, the first thing that they teach you is that the effort to quell thoughts creates more thoughts. And that is what we learnt in TM by the Maharishi Ji's method. Let it go. Thoughts may come and thoughts may go. The mantra comes on, it goes off, comes on. Ultimately, no mantra, no breathing, no sound, no nothing, and you are there. You have transcended. We all need to transcend. That is how we will become true Hindus. Because you have to experience. आपको अनुभव, अनुभूति और दर्शन केवल और केवल योग की प्रैक्टिस से ही हो सकते हैं. Yoga is experiential, and it was thanks to Maharishi Mahesh Yogi that he spread the technique, which was so esoteric. A guru was supposed to test you for 10 years, 20 years, make you look after his cows and everything, and then possibly give it to you when he was dying or something. He made it simple. It is the right of mankind to have this. It's just about the right time. And therefore, he started spreading the technique of meditation globally. Globally. It has been tested in Japan, in Korea, United States, Europe, and the results are empirical and there for all of us to see. Physiological, psychological, measurable, empirical, verifiable results. You don't any longer have to take things on faith. Do it for yourself and find that this is the truth.